Alright guys, so today we're not going to be working on the Civic. We're going to be working on my other car. Here's that. It's a 2013 Subaru WRX. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing the rotors and pads, because the rotors that are on there now are crap. They're all warped. The pads are cutting into some of them. They're grooved. So yeah, we've got some centric rotors and some hawk pads that we're gonna do on that. Before we get into that, I'm gonna give you guys an update on the Civic, because we're gonna be working on that here soon. Not today, but that'll be the next video out. I did get some new wheels and tires on it. They're BBS. They're E30 BMW BBS wheels, and just some cheap tires that I found. Brand new tires. But when switching those over, I discovered that back here there's the trailing arm bushing is shot. Well, I was hoping it wasn't a trailing arm bushing, because that's one of the hardest bushings back there to replace. And if it would have been like a control arm, I would have just replaced the whole control arm. So yeah, we're gonna be working on that. We're gonna be trying to get that bushing out. Who knows how hard that's gonna be, but that's another day. Today we're gonna be working on the Subaru. So let's go ahead and unbox these rotors and pads and see how they look. So there's one rotor. That's pretty nice looking. Here's the pads, hawk pads. These are the rears, I would say. These are small. Yeah. Oh, well, those might be the fronts. These might be the rears. Oh yeah, those are the rears, those are the fronts. So you want to make sure you pay attention to which rotor and pads you use. The fronts have bigger pads and rotors. The backs have smaller pads and rotors. So anyway, we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. I'm just going to show you guys how to do one wheel, because they're all the same and it's a pretty simple task. But first, I'm just going to go ahead and jack the car up and pull the wheel off. Let's get started. So, before we pull the wheel off, we're going to need, or before we jack it up, we're going to need to break the lug nuts loose. And if you're like me and have nice shiny red lug nuts you don't want to scratch, I usually take a plastic baggie and put it in my socket and shove the socket and bag over the lug nut. And that bag will provide nice padding for your lug nuts. So let's go ahead and break them loose. So I run a spacer for my wheel fitment, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that now also. All right. So back here you've got 2 bolts, one here and same spot in the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and if you were just replacing your pads, you'd remove these 2 and then take this off and do your pads. But we're doing the whole thing, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. That is a 14 millimeter. All right, so there's your caliper. Here's your pads. Now, if you were just replacing your pads, right now this is how you would do it. You would just work your pads out. Sometimes they're a little stuck. You might have to kind of pry on them a little bit. See that back one's loose? All they do is just slip out of there. And then you'd put your new pads in and put your rotor back on and you'd be done. But since we're doing the pads and the rotors, we're just gonna go ahead and start taking the pads out, and we're gonna take this off also, which that is some more bolts back here. That one you see right there, and then that one down there. So I'm going to go ahead and take those 2 out, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take those 2 out. I discovered using a wrench will be a little easier, and it is a 17 millimeter wrench. You don't have much room back there for a socket, so I'm gonna go ahead and use a wrench. There's one bolt. You can see how rusty my rotors are. It ain't been driven in a few days. Bolt number 2. So my pads, they actually have a lot of life left, but when you're replacing your rotors, I like to replace my pads too, because your pads will kind of like shape to your rotors. So if you have any grooving or anything going on in there, your pads are probably going to be grooved too. So I just like to start fresh with everything. Another thing, you don't want to leave your caliper just hanging. That's why I have it sitting up here right now, but I'm going to take like a zip tie or something and let it hang from that up from the shock, just to get it out of the way. But you don't want that stress on your brake line. You can either take a hammer and start beating on this to break it loose, or it has 2 little spots here for push bolts, and I'm just going to do that. And there it went, just like that. So that's your whole disassembly process right there. And then basically all you do now is just put everything back together in reverse way. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here's a nice comparison to old to new. Those are a little rusty. These are gonna be nice. So I am going to take some time, a little bit of time, and clean this up real quick, and then I'll start throwing everything back together. So my calipers, the pistons like came out. So I'm using a C-clamp and a piece of wood to go across both of them to close them down in there so I can slip them over the pads. And there you go. All right, so there it is in there. I'll go ahead and tighten them lug nuts a little more, and then set the car on the ground and torque them down to the right torque. But there you go. It's a pretty simple install. All you gotta do is take the lug nuts off and break that old caliper or rotor loose, and they pop right off, and you just switch everything out. All right, so keep up with my my Civic build, and I'll probably do some more stuff on the Subaru. Hope you guys enjoyed.